My friends, listen closely. The story of the Pak-India Battle in May is not just a tale of nations in conflict. It is a lesson about strength, survival, courage, discipline, and vision. And I want to break it down for you in 5 powerful points, the way I live my life. Every great struggle in life begins with a spark. And the story of the Pak-India Battle in May is no different. Tension does not suddenly appear out of thin air. It builds up slowly, silently, and then it explodes like a firestorm. Just like when I was a young boy in Austria, dreaming to be the greatest bodybuilder, the spark was planted in my mind. It was small, almost invisible, but it had the power to change my destiny. The same way the spark of conflict between nations grows from pride, from history, from unresolved questions, from the determination of each side to never back down. In May, that spark between Pakistan and India became flames that captured the attention of the whole world.
You have to understand, when two giants stare each other down, the first move is not always about strength. It's about signaling, about showing that you are unshaken, unafraid. The jets flying over the skies, the soldiers moving closer to the border, the media raising the volume. All of this was not only about weapons, it was about sending a message. The spark was a test. Who will blink first? Who will hesitate? Who will show weakness? And when no one backs down, the spark becomes a fire. This is exactly how life works. You will face moments where your dreams collide with challenges, and you must decide if you will stand strong or collapse.
The spark of the May battle teaches us something very important. Pride and identity are powerful forces. For Pakistan, it was about protecting sovereignty, about showing resilience, about reminding the world that it cannot be bullied. For India, it was about demonstrating power, about saying to the global stage, we are strong, we are in control, we are the future. When two nations driven by such powerful emotions stand against each other, the tension is like the crackle before thunder. It is not just politics, it is not just soldiers, it is energy raw and intense, shaping the destiny of millions. But let me tell you this, sparks are dangerous, because they can either build or destroy. You see, in the gym, the spark of desire can make you a champion, or it can burn you out if you let it turn into arrogance and recklessness. Nations are the same. If they control the spark, they can channel it into strength, into vision, into progress. But if they let it rage uncontrolled, then it turns into destruction, into bloodshed, into regret. The May conflict stood at this delicate line. The spark was real, the fire was close, and the entire world was holding its breath.
I want you to take this lesson into your own life. When you feel that spark inside you, whether it is anger, ambition, or pride, you have a choice. Do you let it explode and ruin everything, or do you master it, discipline it, and use it as fuel to build your empire? The May battle is not just about nations, it is about the human spirit. Because each of us faces our own battles, our own rivals, our own tests. The spark of conflict inside you can be your greatest enemy or your greatest power.
So when I look back at that story of May, I don't only see borders and armies. I see a lesson in psychology, in discipline, in resilience. I see two nations standing tall, refusing to kneel. I see the spark that could have burned a region, but also the spark that showed the world the meaning of national pride. And I tell you, in your own life, recognize the spark, respect it, and control it. Because the one who masters the spark masters the battle. Strength is not just about muscles, it is about discipline, endurance, and the ability to remain calm when the pressure is crushing you from every side. The Pak-India battle in May was not only a display of weapons, it was a display of strategy and inner strength. Both nations were standing eye to eye, ready to test each other, ready to see who had the steel nerves to endure. When people think about war, they imagine the clash of tanks and the roar of fighter jets. But let me tell you, the real test of strength comes before the first strike. It comes in the patience of waiting, the sharpness of planning, and the control of emotions. This is exactly what we witnessed in May, and this is exactly what you face in your own life when you stand before challenges that try to break you. India displayed its might by mobilizing resources, showing its readiness and signaling to the world that it was prepared for any escalation. Pakistan, instead of crumbling under pressure, held firm, sending its own message of resilience, of determination, of refusal to bend. This was not the fight of weak opponents. This was the clash of two nations that had trained, prepared, and hardened themselves over years. And just like in the gym where the barbell does not care who you are, life's challenges do not care either. The one who endures, the one who shows strength not just once, but again and again, is the one who wins respect. The May battle reminds us that strength is multidimensional. It is military strength, yes, but also the strength of unity, the strength of leadership, the strength of psychological warfare. When a nation faces a rival, it is not only the soldiers at the front lines that matter. It is also the leaders who keep their minds steady. It is the citizens who keep their spirit unbroken. It is the vision that prevents chaos from turning into collapse. This is the same truth in life. Your strength is not only in your arms, but in your mindset, your discipline, and your ability to hold on when everyone else lets go. I remember when I was training for competitions. There were moments when my body wanted to give up. The weight felt too heavy. The pain was too much. The fatigue screamed louder than my ambition. But strength is forged in those exact moments. It is when you refuse to quit, when you say, just one more rep, that you transform yourself. The soldiers in May, the commanders, the governments, each of them lived this truth. They had to push beyond the limits of fear, beyond the uncertainty of what tomorrow might bring. That is true strength. And there is something more powerful here, the strength to hold back. Because sometimes the greatest show of power is not in attacking, but in restraining. Both nations knew that if they pushed too far, the fire would consume everything. It takes incredible strength to stand ready, to stay disciplined, to keep your finger away from the trigger when emotions scream for action. That is the strength of maturity, the strength of vision, the strength of true leadership. So what do we learn from the May battle? That strength is not only about showing force, but about mastering it. Strength is the patience to wait for the right moment. Strength is the discipline to stick to your strategy. Strength is the courage to keep your nation's pride alive without losing your nation's future. And in your own life, this is the lesson you must carry. Do not measure strength only by what you can do instantly. Measure it by what you can endure, what you can hold, and how long you can fight without breaking. The May battle was a test, and it proved that strength is not just about surviving the day. It is about proving to the world and to yourself that you cannot be broken. Sacrifice is the foundation of every great victory, every great achievement, and every great story of courage. When we talk about the Pak-India battle in May, we cannot ignore the men who stood on the front lines, the soldiers who carried the burden of their nations on their shoulders. They were not fighting for themselves alone. They were fighting for their families, for their land, for their people, for their flag. These men knew that every moment on the battlefield could be their last, and yet they stood tall. That is the ultimate form of sacrifice. Knowing the risk, accepting it fully, and still choosing to step forward. This is the kind of sacrifice that defines true warriors. When I think about sacrifice, I think about how in my own life, to reach the top, I had to give up many things. Comfort, sleep, sometimes even the simple joys of life. But those sacrifices were nothing compared to what soldiers endure. Because when a soldier sacrifices, he does not just give up comfort, he gives up the possibility of seeing tomorrow. The Pak-India conflict in May was filled with this reality. Brave men on both sides prepared themselves mentally and physically, aware that their families might one day receive the news they feared the most. Yet they did not step back. They showed the world that the spirit of sacrifice is stronger than the fear of death. You see, in life, sacrifice is the price of greatness. You cannot achieve anything worth remembering if you are not willing to give something up. The soldiers in May gave up safety, gave up the warmth of their homes, gave up the comfort of knowing they would see their loved ones again. They embraced danger because their mission was bigger than themselves. And this is the same truth for anyone who wants to achieve greatness in any field. If you want to build your dream, you must sacrifice comfort. If you want to stand above the crowd, you must sacrifice the easy path. If you want to be remembered, you must sacrifice fear.
The battle in May reminds us that sacrifice is not only about losing something, it is about giving something for a greater purpose. Every soldier who stood in the line of fire became a symbol of his nation's pride. His sacrifice was not wasted because it inspired millions behind him. Even in fear, even in uncertainty, there was strength in their decision to fight. They gave their lives, their time, their sweat, so that their people could live with dignity and pride. This is why sacrifice is sacred. It transforms ordinary men into legends. It turns moments of pain into eternal stories of courage.
But sacrifice is not only for the battlefield. It belongs to all of us. You might not be a soldier. You might not face bullets or bombs, but you face your own battles every single day. And to win those battles, you must be willing to sacrifice something. Maybe it is your laziness, maybe it is your excuses, maybe it is your fear. Without sacrifice, there is no progress. The soldiers in May teach us that the willingness to give everything is what creates the strength to stand against anything. So remember this. Sacrifice is not weakness. Sacrifice is power. When you give up something for a higher purpose, you gain something greater than yourself. You gain honor. You gain respect. You gain legacy. The soldiers who sacrificed in May not all be remembered by name, but their spirit will live forever in the heart of their nations. And that is the ultimate reward of sacrifice. It makes you immortal in the story of history. Every battle sends a message, not just to those who fight it, but to the entire world that watches. The Pak-India conflict in May was more than a clash of weapons or a show of military maneuvers. It was a stage where both nations delivered their message with clarity, power, and determination. India wanted the world to know that it is not just a rising power, but a nation that commands attention, that it can defend its interests, project its strength, and stand firm no matter who challenges it. Pakistan, on the other hand, wanted to show that it cannot be silenced, that it cannot be pushed aside, that it has resilience carved into its very identity. This was not just about land or borders. It was about pride, reputation, and the message of survival in a world that constantly measures nations by their ability to endure. The world is always watching. Leaders, allies, rivals, even those who remain neutral, everybody looks at conflicts like this and takes notes. In May, the message was simple. Neither Pakistan nor India is a nation that will bow down under pressure. Both nations proved that their people, their soldiers, and their leaders are ready to face challenges head-on. This is a lesson for all of us. In life, people are always watching you too. They watch how you handle stress, how you respond to setbacks, how you carry yourself when the pressure is at its highest. And just like nations, you must send your message clearly. Do you want the world to see you as weak, fragile, easily broken? Or do you want the world to see you as strong, unshakable, and disciplined? The choice is yours, and it is made in how you act when the fire is burning around you. The May conflict also showed that sometimes the message is not about victory or defeat. It is about resilience. Pakistan's message to the world was that even against overwhelming odds, it will not lose its ground. It will not lose its voice. It will not lose its pride. India's message was that it has the strength, the reach, and the will to dominate the regional stage. These messages were not just for each other, but for global powers who are always calculating their moves. In war, as in life, how you present yourself determines how others treat you. If you show fear, they exploit you. If you show strength, they respect you. But here is the deeper lesson. Your message must go beyond intimidation. It must inspire. The soldiers who stood in May, the governments that stood behind them, and the people who supported them all carried one message to their future generations. We are not afraid. We will stand tall. We will not be broken. That message is bigger than politics, bigger than territory, bigger than headlines. It is the same kind of message you must carry in your own life when you face obstacles. When people doubt you, when life pushes you to the edge, you must send the message, I will not quit. I will not surrender. I will not let this moment define me. And the truth is, the world will always test you. It will push you to your limits. It will throw battles into your life that you never expected. But like Pakistan and India in May, you must understand that every battle is your stage, every challenge is your microphone, every decision is your chance to speak to the world. Do not whisper, do not hesitate, do not confuse people about who you are. Stand tall, send the message clearly, and let them know you are here to stay, you are here to fight, you are here to win. That is what the battle in May proved, that the message of strength, resilience, and pride can echo far beyond the battlefield. And if nations can do this, so can you. Every battle eventually ends. But the story does not stop there. The Pak-India conflict in May teaches us that beyond the roar of fighter jets, beyond the clash of soldiers, beyond the tension that electrified the air, there is always a future waiting to be shaped. And this is where true greatness lies. Not only in fighting the battle, but in building what comes after it. Because if all you do is fight, you remain stuck in the past. But if you look beyond, if you build after the fire, then you create a legacy that lasts longer than the memory of war. India and Pakistan both learned that even after the dust settles, the world is still watching, the people are still waiting, and the future is still calling. The soldiers who sacrificed, the families who prayed, the citizens who endured the fear, they did not go through all that so that the story would just end with conflict. They went through it so that their nations could rise stronger, wiser, and more united. That is the true responsibility of leadership, to look beyond the battlefield and think about the generations that will inherit the result. In your own life, the same truth applies. You will fight battles, you will go through pain, you will endure struggles, but the question is what comes after? Do you stay trapped in the pain, or do you build something better with the strength you gained? The May battle also revealed something crucial. Power without vision is wasted. Nations can gather armies, they can stockpile weapons, they can flex their muscles, but if they do not have a clear vision of peace, progress, and development, then all that power is nothing more than noise. The future belongs to those who can turn strength into stability, who can turn conflict into lessons, who can turn sacrifice into growth. And this is the challenge that both Pakistan and India face, not just how to win a battle, but how to win the future. Think about it, the greatest champions in history were not only the strongest, they were the ones who inspired the next generation. Muhammad Ali was not just a boxer, he was a symbol. Nelson Mandela was not just a fighter against oppression, he was a builder of reconciliation. Greatness is not defined by how well you fight, but by how wisely you build after the fight. The Pak-India conflict in May was a reminder that nations must choose: do they remain prisoners of the past, or do they create a vision that carries them forward? And this lesson is for you as well. Every challenge you face is temporary, but the decisions you make after it create your destiny. When you overcome a struggle, do not just celebrate surviving. Ask yourself, what will I do with the strength I gained? Will I use it to build my career, to strengthen my relationships, to inspire others, to leave a mark on this world? Or will I waste it, going back to the same old patterns, fighting the same old battles, never moving forward? The future beyond the battle is where champions are made. So remember this. The May battle was not only about firepower, it was about foresight. It showed us that both Pakistan and India have strength, resilience, and determination, but the real question is what they will do with it in the years ahead. And you too must ask yourself, what will I do with the battles I've won? Because the fight itself is only half the story. The other half is what you create afterward. And that, my friends, is where true greatness is written, not in the battle, but in the future beyond it. So remember, spark, strength, sacrifice, message, and future. That is the complete story of the Pak-India battle in May. That is also the story of every great struggle in life.